Hi, Spencer Smith, CrossFit Donelson. For this week's homework, I chose the 2007 workout. That's from the 2007 CrossFit Games. We have the 1,000-meter row buy-in, followed by 5 rounds of 25 pull-ups and 7 push jerks. This was perfect for us because we just did this one a week or so ago with CAP programming. Anyway, so got my timeline here laid out. Just like Vern talked about, I do like kind of work from the outside in. So I always want to give myself, here I've got 7 minutes on the cool down. Depending on the workout, I'll try and give myself anywhere between 7 to 10 minutes for the cool down, depending on what we need to do there. But we've, starting all the way back here, we've got the front end, we've got the brief, the whiteboard brief. I'm going to give myself about 4 minutes here. This is a struggle for me, always trying to be concise with this, but a few things I want to go over in the whiteboard brief. I always want to go over the structure of the workout, so I just want to read the workout down, make sure people understand how the workout flows and what is expected of them. Then we'll talk about the stimulus of the workout, and what the weight should feel like, what the movement should feel like, how fast or how many rounds you should be able to do this workout. For today, we're looking at that 1,000-meter row to take us about 4 to 5 minutes for the men, maybe a bit longer for the women, depending on, but we definitely want to keep it, 5-ish, maybe 5.5 minutes or less. Then moving into the 5 rounds, 25 pull-ups for 5 rounds is a lot of volume. So we'll have most people scale that volume back to maybe 15 or even 10 reps if we've got some beginners there. And then for the push jerks there, 7 push jerks, we want something that's moderately light, something we can go unbroken with for at least 3 rounds, maybe if not the full 5 rounds of the workout there. And make sure that we're getting a good overhead position. So we'll go over the stimulus of that in the brief, and then we'll also talk about scaling options, specifically, especially for the pull-ups for today, and then talk about the weight on the barbell. Then we move from the brief into the general warm-up. I'm going to start off with 1 minute on the row at a relatively easy pace. This is also a good time to start honing in technique on the rower, because we're not going to have time to do a specific row warm-up or specific rowing drill today. So this is a good time to make sure people are keeping their heels down, getting their shoulders in front of their hips, driving their legs on that rowing stroke, not using their arms so much, and having a nice good rhythm on the rower. We'll start at an easy pace here for full 1 minute. Then we'll do about 10 reps of all of these movements: Samson stretches, good mornings, some PVC pass-throughs, some PVC overhead squats, push-ups into a pike or a down dog position, and then some strict pull-ups. People don't have strict pull-ups. Obviously, they can do like ring rows in this part of the warm-up, or if they have a few of them, they can scale the volume back a little bit. We definitely want to get that pulling warmed up in the shoulders. And then we move on to finally another minute on the rower at the very end, just at a little bit faster pace here, trying to get the blood pumping, get the heart rate up a bit more, make sure we're getting the legs nice and warm. From here, we move into the pull-up progression work. We always like to start off with some scapular pull-ups to get the shoulders warm and primed to hang in that active hang position. So moving from a passive into an active hang pull on the bar. We'll do about 10 of those. Then we'll do about 10 swings on the rig, moving from hollow to arch, having a nice tight swing rhythm, making sure we're controlling through the shoulders and keeping the shapes tight, and we're not loosely flailing our legs or anything like that. We might do a couple rounds of those depending on how they look. Then we'll move from there into some swings and a kip. Working just on the involving the hips, getting that hip extension in there, not necessarily doing a full pull-up, maybe getting a little pull, but just working on the timing of the swing into the kip, the push back in the kip. And then from there, swings plus a pull-up. I'm a big fan of the 2 swings plus 1 pull-up progression or skill that the gymnastics course teaches. That one's a good one for people who are just starting to get pull-ups to learn and get the rhythm well. And then we move into some consecutive pull-ups. This is a good time for people to establish how many pull-ups they might need to do in the workout if they're able to do pull-ups. So if they can only do 2 or 3 at a time, we're definitely going to scale them back to maybe like 10, maybe 15 reps. If they're able to string together 5 to 10, then 15 might be a good number. And if they're confident they can string together more than 10 at a time, then we might be able to do that full 25. But it's going to depend person to person. And it's also a good chance for my scaled athletes to be able to set up their jumping pull-ups, their ring rows, maybe some seated pull-ups or whatever it might be. Then moving from there into the push jerk progression. Most of this is going to be without any sort of PVC pipe or barbell. So we're going to start off hands at the shoulders for these first few minutes. And we're going to start off with a dip and hold, making sure we're keeping that vertical torso, good front rack position, elbow position maintained, as well as keeping the heels down. Jumping and landing, working on getting good hip extension in that jump, and obviously bent knees in that landing. Jump and punch, working on that timing a bit of jumping, punching under the bar, locking the arms out, landing simultaneously. And then finally the push jerk with the PVC pipe, maybe a barbell. Working on the bar path and making sure that weight feels appropriate or that movement feels appropriate. And then finally, we'll get into some cycling for those of my more advanced athletes who want to cycle it up and then back down and up and just kind of work on that rhythm a little bit, making sure that cycling looks good. Then we have about 6 minutes here to load up the barbell from an empty bar. Always start with the empty barbell and then work our way up towards that working weight. And then once everybody's ready, we'll take a couple minutes of break to use the restroom, get water, maybe get out a whiteboard or whatever they might need to keep track of their rounds or their time or whatever. And then we move into the workout. I've got 20 minutes slotted for the workout here. Obviously, I'd like to see this done maybe like 14 to 18 minutes would be a more ideal time, but I'm going to give my athletes a couple minutes of buffer on the back end, just in case we have those people who go just a little bit long. And then we'll move into the cool down. If everybody finishes in 18 minutes, great. Then we have a couple extra minutes for the cool down. We've got cleaning up the equipment, logging the scores, doing some banded overhead stretching on the rig. Some other, if we have extra time, we can maybe loosen up the posterior chain a little bit or the legs if we need to. But or we could always hop on the bikes and do some lactic clearance, like Henshaw talks about at the aerobic capacity. So this is my timeline for 2007. Thank you very much, Spencer Smith, CrossFit Donelson.